Truthfully, I always wanted to run my own company. It's something I've dreamed of for years, but I just never felt ready to take the plunge. And I think what really kind of brought things to a head was I was working at a large corporation for about 3 years. And even though I had really great employee reviews, I had just gotten a raise, everything was seemingly going well. Unfortunately, the company wasn't doing too well. And, the stock had been really low for quite some time. Long story short, I found out 3 months pregnant that I was being laid off, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise because now, working for myself for several months now, it's really freeing to be able to have some say in the people I'm working with, the companies I'm working with. It makes every day a lot more fun and exciting, and I feel like I'm learning a lot every day, like more so than I ever have in any other position that I've held. My name is Alex Swayne. I'm the CEO and founder of Sunkissed Media. And basically, I run a full service marketing firm where I work with businesses of all sizes, ranging from small mom and pop shops to larger enterprises. And basically, I assist them with all aspects of marketing, ranging from social media management, SEO, email campaigns, content creation in blogs, SMS campaigns, as well as print and digital marketing collateral. So I really try to help with every aspect of marketing for these businesses.
Great, very interesting. Things that many businesses could be doing better, and thankfully, through services like yours, have the opportunity to do so. How did you get into this industry?
So ever since I first graduated college, I worked in marketing, and I'm fortunate because a lot of my previous positions have enabled me to learn different parts of different segments of marketing because there's so much that goes into it. So I had previous positions where I was running social media accounts. I worked at a marketing agency where I was running paid ads for 40 small to medium-sized businesses all on my own. So these were all e-commerce businesses. I managed the SEO for a large enterprise on Long Island. So I basically took these experiences where I had the ability to learn all these different aspects of marketing and figured now I could run and kind of do my own thing and help small businesses with all these different initiatives.
Off the top of your head, what is the primary, lack of a, say, small to medium business in marketing? What are they missing?
So I feel like, this is something I really feel strongly about. I think that people don't prioritize marketing the way that they should. I mean, it's huge. It's how you build your brand. It's how, you connect with current customers and prospective customers. And a lot of times businesses, I feel like, don't dedicate a budget to it the way that they should. And I think that the reason this is especially important is not even just a lack of knowledge and not knowing how to adequately market your business, but also the time constraints. When you're a CEO or high up in a high up position where you're running day-to-day operations for a business, you don't always have the time to do marketing to the extent that you should be. So I think that's why it's important to hire somebody to handle those initiatives, someone who knows what they're doing and who can help you build the brand. The same way you'd hire an accountant to handle your taxes or a lawyer to handle legal matters, I think it's really important to hire someone you trust to come on board and assist with the marketing.
Why do you think businesses will outsource, like you said, accounting, they'll outsource certain different things, but they don't necessarily they don't have the budget typically for marketing, and they don't create a budget. Obviously, the answer is they don't value it in the same aspect. But why do you think that is? Why do you think that they will value an accountant and spend several $1,000s a year on an accountant, but not on marketing?
That's a good question. I think it's because sometimes marketing isn't taken as seriously as I think it should be. And it's crazy because honestly, marketing could really make or break your business. If it's done well, it'll offset the investment costs and you'll see more revenue come in. But if it's done badly, you'll turn people off and, potentially lose customers or turn away prospective customers. I think that nowadays social media is so prevalent and everybody kind of thinks they're a marketer. And I think that sometimes that puts a bad taste in business owners' mouths where they feel like, how do I know this person is qualified? How do I know they'll actually drive profits and revenue for me? And I think that a lot of people wrongfully believe that they could manage it all on their own. And as I said earlier, there's so many different types of marketing that, you walk into a larger company and they have like 50 to 100 people handling all these different initiatives. So for a business owner to think they could do all of it themselves is not always the most efficient way to go about things.
It's an interesting last turn of phrase that it's not the most efficient way. I think that it's doable, but as any business owner knows, that you're already wearing 15 hats, and I think the key to growth is delegation. And I think that like the reason that certain businesses really grow is they are really good at delegating, and they are really good at saying, "Hey, it's time for me to give this up and give somebody else the reins for it." And yeah, it might cost more money, or to some degree, it might not be at the exact standard that I might do it, but you have to let go of certain things if you want to grow.
Yeah, I agree. And that's something I'm even learning in my own business, that like you as one person can only do so much, that if you can streamline processes, if you can automate things, if you can find people you trust to help with the work that you're doing, I think that's so important for any business, regardless of what industry you're in.
So, what aspect of marketing do you think is undervalued right now? What's the arbitrage of marketing at the moment?
Like what marketing people don't take advantage
Yeah,
advantage of as much.
what kind of campaign? Would it be SMS? Is it social media? Is it blog, direct to consumer? What is it?
That's a good question. So I think social media is like overdone and oversaturated, if anything. And I think people tend to gravitate towards that type of marketing because it's free and everybody's using Instagram, everybody's using Meta. But I think that missed opportunities often lie in content creation and blogs. And this is something I stress to my clients a lot is truthfully, the blogs that you put on a website, people might not actually be reading, like let's be honest. But I think they're really important because SEO is part of blogs, that's search engine optimization. So when a website or a blog is optimized for search engines, it ensures that you are ranking higher up on Google and Bing and other search engines, higher than your competitors if the SEO is done right. So blogs are a great opportunity to capture keywords and search terms and phrases that people are searching that pertain to your business and your industry. So obviously it's like bonus if people click the blog, it resonates with them, they read it, they connect with it, and if that turns them into customers, that's amazing. But at the very least, just having that presence on a website with those phrases captured ensures that you're seen as an authority on Google and other search engines.
So you said if SEO is done right, what does that look like? What does the right SEO look like?
So there's a lot that goes into it, but it's making sure that like the meta titles and the meta descriptions capture. So this is like all stuff behind the scenes on the website that they're capturing the services and the products you offer. I think location and really stressing where you're servicing is really important because, like for instance, if you're a photographer on Long Island, there's so many other people doing the same thing, you know, photos, videos, and there's so many towns on Long Island. So I think it's important to make sure you're capturing where you're actually, you know, running your business, towns, counties, getting as specific as you possibly can. That way, when people are looking for a photographer for a birthday party or, you know, for any event in their life and they're searching, you know, best photographer in Nassau County or best photographer in Seaford, if that's an area that you service, that you're coming up and ranking higher than, you know, hundreds of other photographers that are also doing the same thing.
How important do you find SEO on websites to be today?
I think it's not as important as it once was because, as I mentioned before, there's so many other ways to kind of get your brand out there. But I think that it's important to leave no stone unturned. So I think that because SEO is free, I think that's a huge point worth making. Aside from, you know, paying a marketing person to assist you with any initiatives and campaigns you're putting together, um, I think it's good to, you know, optimize the website because it's a free opportunity. Not to say that you're going to necessarily bring in tons of revenue just from SEO alone, but it'd be silly not to at least take advantage of it.
Yeah, I like that point. That, and I like just everything you've said about that. Where it may not be the most important, but the fact that it's free is that why would you not, and potentially leaving opportunities on the table. What would you say that the three largest opportunities are at the moment?
I think paid ads can be amazing and really drive business quick. But the thing is, I think a lot of times people don't know how to set up ads correctly or they're not targeting the right audience. So I think that's why it's really helpful to have a marketing person who's experienced doing that come on board. Just because you can get so granular with those ad campaigns. You can target people with certain interests, certain income levels, you know, by gender, by age. You can target people who just bought a house. Like you could get very, very specific, you know, based on the type of target, you know, audience you're looking to do business with. So I think that that's definitely something people should take advantage of more. Unfortunately, I think people are turned off because a lot of times they have overspent because their ads weren't, you know, set up properly, or somebody may have been running their campaigns that didn't really know what they were doing. And I think that's why sometimes it has a negative connotation. But if done right, like it's pretty instantaneous, the profitability that could come in.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Even somebody that's run plenty of my own ads, there have been plenty that have given a complete waste of money. I mean, I guess you can't say a waste of money because I've learned from them, right?
Yeah.
Um, but from a business ROI, they have been a tremendous waste of money, and there have been some that have been done right and have been almost instantaneous with how many responses or just click-throughs and everything you get through that. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So that was the first one. What would be the second one?
I would say social media, even though, as I said before, it's a little oversaturated with everybody kind of posting on there. But I think if you are intentional about what it is that you're posting, I think it's a huge opportunity to build your brand and to make sales and gain new customers. I think it's just important to be mindful of who you're trying to target and where they are in like the funnel, they call it, when you're coming up with content. And I think also consistency is key. So a lot of times people try to build like a digital presence, they post here and there, and then they don't see results, they don't bring in customers, then they kind of give up, or they get upset with social and think it's not worth their time. But I think as long as you're intentional and you're posting things that actually provide value, whether it be like information that could be useful to them,
Yeah.
showcasing how your product or service can solve a problem or provide value or make someone's life easier. I think content like that is really important because that's what's going to draw people in to actually check out your business and consider, converting to a customer.
What's your go-to spiel, I guess we'll call it, where pretend I'm a customer that's potentially interested. We engage in a conversation. How would you convince, I mean, the goal would be that you wouldn't have to convince anybody that they would need your services, that they recognize that they need your services, and then, you're talking to them that aspect. But say I'm a little skeptical, right? I'm on the
Hmm.
fence. Why would I need to spend money on marketing? I've always been word of mouth. I mean, I don't know in the rest of the nation, but particularly in this area, a lot of it is that mom and pop. Oh, I've always been word of mouth. Why would I need a marketing budget? What's your answer to that?
I've heard that so many times.
I know. So we're in very similar industries. I've done a lot of what you're talking about for myself and also for other businesses. So I relate to a lot of these things. That's why I'm interested in hearing your perspective. And I've heard that a lot too.
Yeah,
My dad owns a construction company, so like it's almost up. 30 years has been word of mouth.
yeah.
Very minimal marketing. So why then? Why would I need marketing? So what would your response be to that?
So I think word of mouth can be really beneficial. Obviously, good reviews, testimonials, they really go a long way. But unfortunately, I don't think they're sufficient in driving business because, as you know, Long Island's a huge place, New York's a huge place, and it's definitely a missed opportunity if you're just relying on word of mouth and not kind of getting your business's name out there in other ways because there's definitely going to be like corners of New York or Long Island that never even hear of your company if you're not getting word of mouth referrals from those particular areas. You're kind of just staying within your circle. And I think that if marketing is done right, the initial investment is offset because you'll see the revenue come in, you'll see the profitability come in. Obviously, you have to pay a marketing person, you have to pay for certain platforms, such as maybe like Constant Contact, for instance, to send email campaigns, just as one example. But when you actually, market to these people that are in the market for your services and your products, that revenue is going to offset the cost. Plus, you're going to gain even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes total sense. It's just a hard pill, I think, for businesses to swallow because it's just things have changed so much over the past even 15 years. So that if you started your business in 1990, it looks so different. There was still obviously the marketing's been around forever, even to like the degree of like in the 1500s, somebody's writing down on paper, I'm selling the best tomatoes down the street, like it's always been around, but how it's looked and how it has changed just a lot over the past couple of years. And I think that intimidates a lot of people. What would you say to the people that are intimidated by the new marketing, whether it be social media, whether it be use of AI, whether it be SMS text marketing, stuff like that? Do you have any comments about that?
I feel like you kind of got to give those people a little bit of tough love. Obviously, there's a way to say things, but I mean, as business owners know, it's tough out there. It's competitive. A lot of small businesses unfortunately fail within the first 3 years of being in business. So if you've been successful beyond those first 3 years, you've done something right. And I think any business owner who has done that successfully knows that you need to pivot. You do need to keep up with the times, especially when it comes to technology. Like it's constantly advancing and quickly. So as you mentioned, like AI is very prevalent these days. if you don't keep up, like, unfortunately, you get left behind because there are, hundreds and thousands of other businesses that are keeping up and they are making sure to put forth the latest trends in their marketing and their strategies. So I think it's important to stay afloat to keep that all kind of under consideration.
So how would you describe your target customer? Like what would your demographic of potential clientele be?
So I'm happy working with all different types of clients because I have experience working at a marketing agency previously. I've handled small, like clients that were smaller companies, larger companies. I've worked with entrepreneurs from various different industries. And I think it keeps things exciting for me because I'm always learning through these different clients I work with about what it is that drives revenue for them, what it is that their target market consists of. So it keeps me on my toes. That being said, my target customer is either A, somebody who doesn't have the bandwidth to run the marketing themselves because they're just so busy with the day to day operations. And I think another type of client I'd want to work with is maybe someone who isn't the most tech savvy, that they maybe don't have much knowledge on how to run an email campaign, or they don't know how to, come up with creative ideas for their social media accounts. That way I could kind of take that stress and that workload off their plate and help them handling it myself.
So one of the things that you had mentioned earlier in the conversation is that and what I'm hearing throughout is that you've had an extensive career since college in marketing, and the marketing, whether it be through large companies or whether it be on smaller businesses, you've had a lot of experiences. And what was the catalyst for you that you said, "Hey, I want to move from this corporate world or working with other companies or under an employer, and become my own employer, and employee as a starting your own business."
That's a great question. So, truthfully, I always wanted to run my own company. It's something I've dreamed of for years, but I just never felt ready to take like the plunge. Like, I don't know, I had my fears that I kind of let rule those decisions I'd make and I'd stay at companies. Fortunately, I learned at the companies, obviously, that I was working at. And I think what really kind of brought things to a head was I was working at a large corporation for about 3 years. Truthfully, I wasn't as happy there as I probably should have been. I felt very siloed. I was just kind of helping with the SEO and doing project management. I wasn't really getting to utilize some other skills I've gained over the years, such as assisting with content and writing, which I really love to do, even before ChatGPT was a thing. Social media management, coming up with like digital and print marketing collateral. I really couldn't do any of that in the role that I was in. And even though I had really great employee reviews, I had just gotten a raise, everything was seemingly going well. Unfortunately, the company wasn't doing too well, and the stock had been really low for quite some time. Long story short, I found out 3 months pregnant that I was being laid off. So at the time, it was really scary, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise because now, working for myself for several months now, I have no desire to go back to working in corporate life for someone else. It's really freeing to be able to have some say in the people I'm working with, the companies I'm working with. It makes every day a lot more fun and exciting. And I feel like I'm learning a lot every day, like more so than I ever have in, any other position that I've held.
It's very inspiring, and I think that through frustration and through the fire, gold is formed, right? Um, that being said, I'm curious. So you've been at this for probably I guess over a year. You mentioned the fact that you have a 9 month old and they were 3 months pregnant. So at some point
Oh,
that's
I didn't start immediately.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, though, regardless, so you've been at it for a couple months. What does the first client look like for you? How do you get that first client?
So I've noticed a trend that the clients I've picked up, over these past several months have been places I was already going to, places that I really respected, and I saw the value in what they were doing. A lot of my clients are actually open play places for kids because I tend to bring my son and daughter to them quite a bit. And I'm always coming up with ideas on how I could actually, help them bring in more revenue and more customers. A fun little fact, one of my clients makes a lot of money through events for kids. So I, on my own, offered to dress up and sing as Miss Rachel, which is definitely something a lot of marketing companies probably don't do, and that wasn't part of our contract. But we actually ended up selling out the event. The kids had so much fun, the parents had so much fun. It kind of got me out of my comfort zone. I'm trying to improve on my public speaking skills and my presentation skills. So my line of thinking was, if I could pull off singing a cappella to Miss Rachel songs, like I could do any presentation. I could speak in any room because that's like I don't want to say that's as bad as it gets, but that's as scary on some level as it gets. And it was a lot of fun. And I've done that one time since, and I have a third event scheduled. So yeah, I guess well, the original question, what was it
What
again?
was the catalyst? But oh no, the first, what was the first client? Or
Oh,
how did you get your first client? But it's essentially the answer seems like it was all the places that, or a lot of the places you've been frequenting, you just had relationships built with them, and it was like essentially an easy segue of, hey, now I got my own thing if you need help.
yeah. One was a restaurant that I loved. I've been like a religious customer since 2016, but I saw that there were gaps in what they were doing, and I thought there were a lot of ways they could improve their marketing because the restaurant, truthfully, wasn't as busy as I thought it should be. Like the menu is extensive, it's amazing, and I think they're like a hidden gem, basically. So I just kind of reached out to the owner and I told her some of my ideas. And we've been working together really well ever since. So it's really organic, I think, a lot of
Yeah.
the relationships.
So what does essentially the fee structure look like in the sense of like, do they other packages or is it kind of a la carte based on what they need? How does that look?
So I try to have a really competitive price point because obviously marketing could get expensive if you're hiring like a large agency with a lot of overhead or if you're hiring an in-house marketing person that's salaried. So what I do, my main offering is that I offer everything I've mentioned before: social media, SEO, content creation, email and SMS campaigns, and paid ads. And I manage all that for 1,000 a month. I know that not every company needs assistance with all that, and they might have help in some of those areas. So, what I do in those situations is I'll speak with them about a la carte options, and the price changes depending on what they need or how much of it they need per month. So that's something we determine on like a conversational basis. But I think my most popular offering that people opt for is the 1,000 a month for everything, and then I kind of just put in the proposal how many deliverables they get. Typically, it's 3 to 5 social posts a week and a story as well. One blog post per week, 2 to 4 email campaigns a month or SMS. And then paid ads is kind of like a separate budget that they have to pay for, but I manage it for the 1,000 a month. And then they choose how much they want to invest in ads.
What does content creation look like? Are you the one creating the content for them or are they creating it and sending it to you? How does that work?
So typically I do create it. I'm fortunate that I have like a very trusting relationship with the clients I'm working with, that they kind of do hand, the reins to me and they're like, post what you think is going to be beneficial for us. Although I'm totally open to suggestions. Sometimes they'll send me things they want me to post. I'll give my 2 cents and change things if necessary. But yeah, I come up with a content calendar. I try to stay creative and make sure that everything is unique and different and we're not getting repetitive in our strategy. So it's a lot of posting content that highlights promotional offerings, highlights events that might be going on. A lot of the posts have to do with like testimonials and positive reviews because I think that's really reassuring to people who are considering checking out the business. I post a lot of reels, I think videos and photos of what's going on within those businesses, whether it be a play place or a restaurant. I think that's really engaging for people. And that's usually what does entice them to actually come and check out the place that's being marketed. So it's really a mix of everything, just trying to stay creative and keep things exciting.
What do you think is next for Sunkist Media?
Right now, I'm hoping to continue growing, to pick up some more clients. Um, I guess if I'm looking at like the big picture goal, eventually I would like to scale and maybe have a couple of people working with me. But for now, I'm just happy kind of continuing to learn the ropes, continuing to form relationships with the clients I'm working with, hopefully bringing on some more and kind of just taking it from there.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate hearing your story. It's been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I
Absolutely.
really enjoyed having this conversation with
Likewise.
you and coming here.
Yeah, likewise. So thank you to everyone that watched this interview. And if you are interested, if you're a business that potentially needs some marketing, definitely consider reaching out to Sunkist Media. If you're a business owner you think might be a good fit for this podcast, or you think you might know somebody that might be a good fit for this podcast, please consider reaching out. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.